everyone. This is Mary Grace Cafe, your pre-service teacher. In today's video, we are going to talk about a poem, how I would teach this poem to my future students, and how I would assess my future students in my class with this poetry lesson. Before I go any further, I'd like to define what poetry is. When we say poetry, we feel though we understand it, yet it's impossible to define. Poets attempt to express this indescribable, which is probably why Carl Sandburg defined poetry as an echo inviting a shadow to dance. The poem is the oldest form of literature in human history, and numerous rules and styles have been formalized over the years. Poetry is a form of literature that emphasizes the interaction of words and rhymes. It frequently uses rhyme and meter, which is a set of rules governing the number and arrangement of syllables in each line. Words are woven together in poetry to create sounds, images, and concepts that are too complex or abstract to explain directly. Poetry can be written for any number of reasons. It could be beauty, humor, storytelling, political statements, and others. And it is one of the most expressive forms of writing. It can elicit emotions, establish a mood, tell a tale, or elicit a profound and universally felt emotions in its audience. The poem Jabberwocky is the one I've chosen to teach my future students. To be honest, I had never heard of this poem until Ma'am Aya, our creative writing teacher, taught it to us when I was in grade 12. Jabberwocky is one of the most renowned poems in the English language, but not because of its content. Rather, its incomprehensible vocabulary, rhyme, and rhythm distinguish it as one-of-a-kind work of art that readers remember. The author of a poem is referred to as poet. Charles Lutwidge Dodgson was an English author, poet, and mathematician who wrote under pen name Lewis Carroll. Lewis Carroll originally included this poem in his book Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There, which is the sequel to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. What would be the best way for me to teach this lesson to my future students? The first thing I will do as a teacher is incorporate technology into my classroom. I'll show my future students a short video of Jabberwocky. Sir Dan told us that there are two ways we can introduce the lesson to the students. Either we start with examples and then move on to the topic, or we start with the topic and then move on to the examples. I'll have them watch the video carefully and listen to the speaker's pronunciation. This is critical because the Jabberwocky's word choice is complex and difficult to say, especially for those who are unfamiliar with the poem. I'll show the video again to ensure that my future students understand the poem. After watching the Jabberwocky video, I will let them go to their respective groups and practice presenting or reciting the poem in front of the class. I've previously shown them the poetry, so I'm hoping they pay close attention to the pronunciation so that they can present it accurately. I'll give them 10 minutes to get ready for their recital. After 10 minutes, the first group will have to yell before reciting the Jabberwocky's poem. This is how I intend to introduce them the poem of Jabberwocky. They will be able to become used to how it is pronounced and repeated in this way. This is also the strategy Ma'am Aya taught me, which I shall apply in the classroom. After all the groups have finished presenting, I will let them return to their seats. Since this is a group activity, there will be points rewarded based on how well the poetry is delivered. The highest group will receive 30 points. Following that activity, I will give a printed copy of the poem to each of my students. I'll assign them to work in pairs. Their seatmates will be their partners. They're going to look up any unfamiliar words in the poem and annotate them. The poem of Jabberwocky has a lot of unfamiliar vocabulary. They must first decipher the unfamiliar terms before they can comprehend this poem. They will highlight all the unfamiliar words in the poem. After that, they might begin browsing the internet for the meaning of those unfamiliar words. They will write the definition of the underlined words next to them. I'll give them another 10 minutes to complete this task. This is only a warm-up before I discuss the poem of Jabberwocky. By doing so, my future students will be able to catch up with my discussions and have prior knowledge of the poem's meaning. After 10 minutes, I will read aloud the poem of Jabberwocky, applying the proper intonation, pausing, and most importantly, the emotions. We will notice in poetry that it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stanzas. We will also notice that even though the first stanza and the last stanza are technically the same, they do get their own numbers. We don't suddenly go back to 1. We don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 like you do with rhyme. Rhyme is when the ending sounds of words are similar. Without further ado, I present Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. It was brillig and slithy tobes did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogobes, and the mome rats outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that cut. Beware the Jubjubird and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand. Long time the Mangsenfaw he sought. So rested he by the Tuntum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in office thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling to the tawdry wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and true, the vorpal blade went snickersnack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galoomping back. And has the slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy, oh frabius de calukale. He chortled in his joy. It was brillig, and the slithy tobes did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the barogobes, and the mome rats outgrave. Starting with the first stanza. Many of these words we might not recognize. Lewis Carroll was really famous for making up words or combining two existing words to form a new one. By using context clues, we can understand the intention behind those words. A lot of the time, he is associating the words with other similar words, and so it gives them a little bit of meaning. So in the first stanza, it was brillig and the slithy toad. So it was brillig is a sort of brilliant. So maybe it was a wonderful or beautiful day. Beginning here, I will properly explain to my future students the meaning of each word in each stanza. My future students will be able to tell if their annotations are correct or not if I explain them one by one. How would I assess my future students in my class with this poetry lesson? I will use the TPCAST method of poetry analysis. TPCAST stands for T for title, P for paraphrase, C for connotation, A for attitude or tone, S for shift, and T for theme. It's a great way to educate students on how to analyze a poem and comprehend its components. It enables students to decipher the deeper meanings of poems while also providing them with the confidence to educate themselves. TPCAST poetry analysis is a mathematical order of operations that is comparable to PEMDAS. It instructs students to make a list of topics in chronological sequence and to respond to questions based on their understanding of the poem. I will provide them with a rubric to use when doing their TPCAST poetry analysis. Rubrics are crucial since they guide students in completing their tasks. It also acts as a framework for assigning grades to my future students. Finally, I will select students to express the meaning of the entire poem, as well as their major takeaways from the lesson, and to compare and contrast the experience of reading a story, drama, or poem with listening to or viewing an audio, video, or live version of the text, including contrasting what they see and hear when reading the text with what they perceive when listening or watching. I'll also ask if they have any questions, clarifications, or concerns about the course so I can provide my constructive feedback. That would be all. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Next time, we will tackle about prose. Please look forward to it. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Goodbye.